microphone. Hey, that's a microphone right there. Oh, jeez. You know, a lot of people tuned in just as I was going live. Just to see that. That's amazing. Okay, well, let's start it all over without, I won't do the music or anything. We'll just keep going. But welcome, everybody, to Happy Hour Humpday Hangout here at the Director's Garage. What I had started to say was that I was really running around LA right up until the very moment I came home. I came home, threw on everything, clearly forgot to turn the mic on, the preamp, and that's a tube preamp, so it's got to warm up a little bit. And then I just sat down and turned everything on and went. And I'm like, well, okay, it looks like everything's there, but the mic wasn't there. So at any rate, you should have music going though. Still, that's good. And what I was going to say is I was running around LA because I had done there's a Lakers documentary that I can't tell you anything about coming up, and I was over at their headquarters meeting some folks and doing some interviews, and they gave me a jersey. Like, pretty cool, like a custom deal with my own number and whatever. 72 was a number that I had in college. I'm like, they said, what number do you want? I went, I don't know. I'm like, it's going to be 67, the year I was born, or it's going to be, you know, my football number from high school. So there you go. That's what's going on. Yes, everybody, 2 minutes and 36 seconds of dead air. I am on it today. So what I'm going to be talking about today is Mobile Fidelity. I don't know if you guys caught it or not. Mobile Fidelity issued an apology today, and we're going to go through the whole thing in just a few seconds, but I will start by reading their apology, if it's on their website. Oh, it's not on their website. They issued it on Facebook. And here it is. We at Mobile Fidelity are aware of... Wow, there's a lot of dinging going on. Let's turn some mics down, because that can't get annoying. We at Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab are... Sound Lab? Yeah, I guess it is Sound Lab. Are aware of customer complaints regarding the use of digital technology in our mastering chain. We apologize for using vague language, allowing false narratives to propagate, and for taking for granted the goodwill and trust of our customers place in the Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab brand. We recognize our conduct has resulted in both anger and confusion in the marketplace. Moving forward, we are adopting a policy of 100% transparency regarding the provenance of our audio products. We are immediately working to update our websites, future printed materials, packaging, as well as providing sales and customer service representatives with those details. We will also provide clear, specific definitions when it comes to Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab marketing. Branding. Cheers, everybody. It's Wednesday. We're halfway home, but big controversy this week, so I'm going through it. Marketing, branding, such as original master recording, OMR, and Ultra Disc One-Step UD1S. We will backfill source information on previous releases so that Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab customers can feel confident in owning their products as we are in making them. We thank you for your past support and allow us to continue to provide for you the best sounding records possible, and an aim that we've achieved and continue to pursue with pride. Okay, so what's it all about? Why are they apologizing? Well, it comes down to, and I've prepared a little bit of this, so I can kind of read through a little bit of it so it's not so scattered. You know how I normally am scatterbrained on this live show? Well, I actually wrote something, so I can go through a little bit of it. So, Mobile Fidelity... And here comes Holly. No, or a ghost blew the window with the door open. It's something of a long story, and it's not going to make me look very good because I bought a bunch of this crap. So I'm just going to tell you what it is, and I'll roll you through this little thing, and then we'll talk about it in the chat, okay? So I probably have 100 or more Mobile Fidelity releases. And I'll explain what's going on as best I can, so hopefully you all can understand it. And so here we go. It's kind of a story of truth and deceptions. Now, when CDs first came out, there was a concern over how the material for the CD was being generated. So labels came up with a 3-letter code for CDs so that the buyer could understand the process. If a CD was made off of a digital tape, meaning it was a digitized master, so meaning that they took an analog tape, they dubbed it to digital, and then created the CD off of that digital tape, or a file, it would be called an ADD recording. Analog source, digital transfer, digital output. So you knew what you were getting. If a master was analog and then ran through an analog board or dumped to analog tape for reproduction to create the final digital version, it would be called AD, analog, and a digital. Now, if the original source was digital, the process would typically be called DDD because you'd stay digital all the way through the recording chain right to the point at which the CD was made. Now, these codes were found on the back of every early production CD you could purchase. And that's going to come into play very shortly. Now, let's talk about Mobile Fidelity. Mobile Fidelity's been a label that's been around since the 1970s. It was founded by a guy named Herb Belkin. Now, back in the day, they were known for licensing access to a master tape, and then they would cut their own vinyl using presumably a better quality or a higher quality vinyl combined with a better quality process. So we'll take, I got a few examples here. I did some digging into the Director's Garage archives, and I told you I have a bunch of this shit. And so let's see, let's go here. And so like Revolver, here's Dark Side. This is one of the better ones. Sgt. Pepper, this was one of the worst ones. There were like 3 eras of Mobile Fidelity pressings, but that's not as germane to what we're talking about today. So let's take Revolver, since this is open or something. It's the one that I happen to have in hand. I was going to talk about Abbey Road, but Abbey Road somewhere deep in this track. So what the thing of it is, what makes Mobile Fidelity, or at least made Mobile Fidelity special in those early days, is this. This is going to be pretty cool, and hopefully the camera will pick it up. If I take a light, look, the vinyl is transparent. Can you see the light through see me moving the light around behind the vinyl? The vinyl's transparent. That's how pure the vinyl was that Mobile Fidelity was pressing their records on. That was kind of something they were known for. They were also producing it off of the original tape. There was no alternative process back then for them to make a record. A lot of these early pressings kind of sound bad. They weren't all that. And that's because Mobile Fidelity was EQing this stuff. And they were EQing it heavily. And they're doing their own spin on it. And in a lot of cases, particularly Pepper, they really wrecked the recordings. But I bought them anyway. I thought, here's what happened. In the late 80s, with CDs emerging, Mobile Fidelity stopped making records. And so I went out and I bought a bunch of them because they were made in Chicago, and I was working like blocks from the Mobile Fidelity plant. So I bought a bunch of them, and I never even opened a bunch of these. So I just bought them and stuck them on a shelf and thought maybe they'll be worth something someday, and they aren't. Newsflash, bad investment. And then they did these, and instead they started doing these Ultra CDs, and here's one of them. This is one of the best ones. This is Derek and the Dominoes, Layla. And just a, it's all kind of screwed up because it's me. That's over the years. It didn't hold its own, but it's supposed to be, like they did special stuff with the CDs that I never really got because I'm like, a digital it's either a 1 or a 0. I don't see how, other than the master source, which is, the money here, it kind of doesn't make sense. Because it's digital. So unless you're making an SA CD, it doesn't really make sense. And we're going to get to your comments shortly. I'm just going to continue talking about this stuff. So I thought this was very good, but I'd heard better. That's kind of like where I'm at with that. And nearly all of these were sourced from a master tape. So all of these came from tape. They played it, and the process is this: you play a tape, and you make a lacquer. You take the lacquer. Am I getting ahead of myself? They were, I guess I should stop here and say they were AAA recordings. It was an analog chain. You have an analog source, an analog mastering process, and then an analog final product was analog. And in the case of their CDs, they were usually ADD or AAD, but you started with the analog master. And that's really the important part of that. The company got sold. They kind of went bankrupt in the late 90s. The CD things just wasn't working, and they were bought by a company called Music Direct. And I forgot the guy's name. Jim Davis. Jim Davis bought them. And they started printing records again, stuff like this, Carole King's Tapestry. And this vinyl sounds pretty good. And I have like Sinatra. I started collecting some of their Sinatra and some of their Dylan. And these are really good. The blood on the tracks is a really good, this sounds terrific. And the Sinatra sounded good to me. And I have some original vinyl to compare it to in some of these cases, but then there are other cases where I really don't have anything to compare it to. But I think Blood in the Tracks is really, one of their better MOFI releases. Now, some of these recordings they licensed, they couldn't get back to the original master, all right? And meaning that when they sourced it, when they went back to try and make the dub, or the lacquer, there wasn't a master there to be had. Or it was sketched, like they weren't sure this was the original, and they had no way to verify it. And some of that happened because of the result of the Universal fire, where all the masters got burned, and so they lost some of them there. But in that case, they came out with this, and instead of saying up here original master recording, it would say Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab. Right? And it's a silver label. So I call these silver labels, but some people call them just the Mobile Fidelity Sound Labs pressings. And so they're really careful about their source chain and where they're getting their stuff from. And I don't think that's ever an issue. That's not an issue in this situation. And they even admit that if they had a whole record that they could verify that the master was 100%, was like 99% sourced as original master, but they had one track that they couldn't verify, the whole record would get the silver label. So they're really careful about that. That part they were being really meticulous about. And the reason that you would have sometimes the masterings of the LP would get split off onto separate reels because of single releases. So they didn't always keep all of those tracks together on one tape. Sometimes it's like they got to go to 3 different sources or 4 different sources. And there were a couple of cases there. Well, let's just say the production chain is where things get a little bit murky. It's like and in 2016 they started doing this. They started doing these one-step recordings, and this right here. And what they did was they're eliminating steps in the process. Normally, the process is you cut a lacquer. You cut a lacquer from the master tape, which is done on a lathe, and then that goes and they make a mother and a father from that, which is like a plate, and then they would make a stamper off of that. And the stamper is what they make the vinyl from. And the stamper is only good for, say, 1,000 or so copies, right? So it goes, and what this version, what the one step is supposed to do is eliminate the father-mother process and just go lacquer, stamper, vinyl, right? And that's what they said they were doing, with a couple of arrows. That became very controversial arrows in this process, right? So it's eliminating 2 steps and presumably resulting in a cleaner pressing. That's debatable, by the way, but that's what they say. And I will confess that my Abraxas, which is probably down on the bottom of this massive mega stack, hang on. Abraxas, this is one of Mobile Fidelity's best pressings. It's one of my best records. Like, this record is so quiet and it sounds so good. I would say it's among my very, very best records. It's special. There's no question about it. So I got to kind of give them like that much of the, like I give them that credit. Like they're doing good work. And but the problem is that the stampers wear out and the lacquer that creates the stamper is a one-off. So if you're doing 2,500 pressings, this isn't really a problem. You're doing 2, maybe 3 passes on the master tape to create 2 or 3 lacquers, and you're fine. Like, it's not that big a deal. The problem and the real trigger to all of this was Thriller, Michael Jackson's Thriller. They announced that they're coming out with Thriller, and they're going to do a 40,000 pressing run. Now, people in the industry who know the process said, wait a second, something ain't right. You're going to go to Sony Music, and you're going to run 40 passes on Thriller, on the Thriller Master from 1984. No frickin' way. Nobody's going to let you do that. So the problem is, either you're lying to us, you've got an intercept of some kind, you're going to make a copy, an analog dub of that tape, or you're making a digital copy of that tape. Something's got to give, because there's no way in hell Sony is going to let you do 40 passes on a master tape. You're just, that is that is one of their most prized master tapes. It's the highest selling record of all time. So, it raised a red flag. Something wasn't right. And the questions, so like I said, are they dubbing it down? They could do an analog step. Like, they could take the master tape of Thriller and do an analog dub to 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch or even 1 inch, and you would not tell the difference. That's how good tape is. It's really, like, you would never in a million years pass a blind taste test if you're doing a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch, like a reel-to-reel transfer at a high speed onto a high-speed deck. It would be really, you would never hear that. There's just no way. But it turns out that what they were truly doing is more devastating for analog purists. I'm not one of them, by the way. It turns out that Mobile Fidelity has been taking a digital capture station on the road to acquire their masters. So Sony won't send their masters out. That's their policy. So anybody who's making pressings of Sony material has to go to Sony and then deal with it in-house. So, are they dubbing the tape? What are they doing? Well, they were going in there with a digital encoder and playing the master out into a computer and recording it at quad DSD files. Quad DSD files. So a DSD file is 64, so 4 times that, 700 and whatever, is what they were doing. And that's 11,000 plus samples a second. So it's a high quality. There's no question. So they're doing some editing and some tweaking there, whatever they got to do in the digital realm, and then they're making their lacquers from that DSD file. In CD speak, they're producing an LP that goes ADA, with the D being a digital intercept. Now, they did this interview with some engineers, and it didn't come off well. It actually sounded really bad, what they were saying. They were kind of like shifting around a little bit, and they're not spokesmen. These are engineers, so you got to take that into consideration when you start listening to their explanation over it. But they did admit that they were actually being truthful, you know, in that, I mean, they were being truthful in that they came out and admitted that there was this digital intercept in between. But they also claimed that by capturing digital, it allowed them to make more accurate pressings. They're saying that with the digital file, they could make sure that, say, the gaps between the tracks are the right length. The EQ, the panning data, this is all data that's written on the master tape, and it can differ from track to track. They go back digitally and they make sure that all of these little instructions that happen in the mastering process get adhered to, so that they're making a true master. But the problem is, nowhere in this chart are they saying there's a digital step. They don't say, it says, in fact, picture. You got a reel, you got a lacquer, you got a stamper, and you got your vinyl. There's no, it's not like original source recording, and then like that arrow, does that mean, oh, it was transferred to digital real quick? that was, you know, moved on. You know, it's a little sketch, right? And the problem is, well, the problem is that, you know, these records, these one steps are $100 and up a copy. And if you, I think that, and I contend, I had an argument about this online, that if you're spending $100 on a record, that digital step is worth, I want to know about it, right? I want to know that that's what you did. Furthermore, by not, if they had put it down there, would I really pay $100 for this record if I knew that it was digitally sourced as opposed to analog sourced? Because at that point, if you're just making a digital master, sell me the digital master, right? And why do I got to go back to this analog process? What am I gaining? Like, where's the gain there? Other than you have a record, but the digital file is going to be purer than the analog file, or the analog record, right? So there's a lot of emotion about this. You know, were they being deliberate in this sheet? I don't know. But I think that if they had put down that there was a digital step there, the DSD step, they wouldn't be able to garner $100 a record. And so why not divulge the information? You knew, they must have known this digital intercept is not going to sit well with people who, many of these people are analog purists, and they're like, I paid $100 for this record, it better be, you know, it sounds like you're just taking a shortcut, right? Because you're going to digital, which is cheaper and easier to manipulate, and it's less work. So it's kind of, in my eyes, a sin by omission that you wouldn't say something like this. Now, MOFI in the video before this apology here, they said that they're presenting the best version of these albums they know how to make. And in the case of Abraxas, that's certainly the case. Abraxas is pristine. It's great. But some of these other one-steps, I have Stevie Ray Vaughan, I have Simon and Garfunkel, they're not just not close to the best I've heard. They're like, in some cases, the original Epic and Columbia recordings were better than the one steps to my ears. They sounded better. So was that all because of this signal path? You know, is that the reason that, and I even have, like, I Couldn't Stand the Weather, I've got, or Kind of Blue. Here's another one, Kind of Blue. Look, Analog Productions did a box, you know, obnoxious big box of Kind of Blue, and it just sounds better than the exact same box, which I also was stupid enough to buy, of Miles' Kind of Blue. And is that because this is source digital? Do we have to ask these questions now? Yeah, and the answer is yes. And as it turns out, anything since 2016, at least, dating back to as far as 2008, has likely been digitally sourced. They've been doing this for a while. But I'm telling you, like, I have the one step of Couldn't Stand the Weather, which, you know, as you know from even my last video, that Couldn't Stand the Weather is one of my favorite albums, and I listened to that. It sounds good on the one step, but then you listen to the 2003 mastering, the Grundman mastering from 2003. It sounds better. I mean, it's just better. Everything sounds, the dynamics are better. There's more space in the mix. You know, it's livelier. There's all these little things, and so, and it's the same way with the Kind of Blue. This ultra high, this UHQR thing that was like $200. That it's just it sounded better. So, other than the fact that it's easier to make a digital transfer, I don't understand why they do it. Why not go the extra mile of making a dub of the multi-track or a dub of the 2-track master? Why not make an analog 2-track copy? And sonically, what are they serving by going with the DSD file is that interstep. I don't see a clear advantage other than it's easier, it's cheaper to work on a digital file than it is on tape. So, and when they're charging that much per LP, cost and convenience to me shouldn't be a hindrance of any kind. It shouldn't be a consideration. Now, MOFI has produced generally good sounding stuff, and not all of it has been great or even good. I have in here this LP. This was a disaster. Raspberries. Now, this isn't, they didn't claim that they were an original master recording in this case, but this wasn't even worthy of doing this, because this sounds horrible. Like, it's just awful. I don't know what they were doing, but this was a mistake before it even hit. It shouldn't have hit the lathe. It shouldn't even come out. It was so bad. But maybe it's the digital thing. Maybe it's just, why do I have to ask these questions as a consumer? You know, why do I have to, you know, and I don't know. It's just, and they've been hit or miss on a bunch of their records. Like, some of their records sound great. Some of their records are not so great. And this is going back to 2008. In fact, you know, so if you bought a MOFI recording in the last 5 years, chances are it's been analog, digital, analog. And I don't have an issue with the process. It's the lack of transparency that's the problem, right? Because they led me to believe that you know, this is like the purest record you can get. And if you're going into a digital thing, I don't know. I just can't support the $100 fee for, you know, something that's a digital source. It seems a little ridiculous to me. And I think that all record companies now are going to have to step up, and they're going to have to declare what their process is. If a record sounds great, it sounds great. I mean, and whatever wizardry you conjured up to make that record sound great is fantastic. And I would reference the Giles Martin remix of the Beatles stuff, particularly Pepper. And that suffered, if you're a headphone guys like us, the panning on the original Sgt. Pepper stereo was unlistenable. It was dreadful, because you got, you know, half the guy singing here, another guy singing here. I mean, it just made no sense. So, but Giles was upfront about it. Like, he took you in and showed you what he was manipulating on the damn computer in those videos. So you knew what you were buying into. And you can't say the same about this mobile stuff. So my thoughts are this, you know, and they issued the apology today. That's number one. And they should have done that maybe a little sooner. But I'm not going to you know, I can't begrudge them. They committed a sin by omission. But a lot of people thought that they bought something that they thought was an analog product from start to finish. And if they were upfront about that process, I don't think that they would be commanding the $100 a copy. They need to revise all this graphic stuff, and they said they're going to do that, so that's a good thing. And they're going to give us the backstory, like what if what we've bought came from where? That's kind of important. I think, though, what they should do ultimately, this is my solution, is particularly in the case of these one-steps. That's not a one-step, but the Simon & Garfunkel, we paid for a one-step off the master. That's what we were kind of like led to believe. And that's what they should offer us. They should offer us the 4X DSD master that they made, which was the 11,000 samples per second. They should allow that. They should allow us to download that, because that's the master we ended up unwittingly paying for. And I think that we should be able to hear what that master is like before it hits the vinyl process, which is going to degrade it just naturally because it's an analog process. I can tell you this, those master tapes, if I found out that the Analog Productions master tapes had a digital intercept, I would be pissed. Those are $500 a copy. I was promised a transfer that was either directly off the master or one step down from the master. I buy those cheap eBay master tapes, and I know that they're digitally sourced, right? And I buy them cheap. They're like $100, $200, about the cost of the tape to make them. I know they're lying, but they still sound good to me. But MOFI is a trusted company. They shouldn't be like the eBay fly-by-night people that sell me this stuff for cheap. I hold them to a higher level, and I think they need to hold themselves to a higher level, and it sounds like maybe they're going to do that. But it doesn't taste very good. All of this does not taste very good. So I'm going to go to your comments now. That was my little thing about the whole thing. And let's start getting into comments about it. And if we have time left, I also have a review. Cheers! It's been talking too long. I gotta get some libations going. What everybody drinking today? I did a serious thing though. A serious topic for a change instead of just like bullshit, which I normally do. Hope you don't mind, but I kind of advertised it. I thought maybe people wanted to talk about it. I had a bunch of people email me this week saying, "What'd you think of that? You know, what's your opinion? You have a lot of vinyl, and it's true, and I have a lot of this stuff." So. MOFI, we're getting into it. Vinyl is in itself a lossy capture of a master tape. To begin with, vinyl, and this is from Nephilim81, vinyl heads are gonna have to eat some crow. Well, it is a lossy format. I mean, we know that it's, you know, like it does degrade. It's because it is an analog process. There's something about the openness, I think, of vinyl that we appreciate. I mean, it just sounds a little airier, and that's what the appeal is. I also like the physical process of putting on a record. That it's more of an event. It's like it preps me to listen to something, as opposed to clicking a button on a computer, which I can do, and I do that all the time. I mean, I would tell you that I listen to more digital music than I listen to analog music. But I love the process of listening to an analog music. It's like playing a game of catch, you know. You got a physical baseball in your hand. You got a physical product in your hand, and you look at it and you think about it, and you know, it's an active process, and I really like that part of analog. It's not just about the sound of the thing. It's about the whole process of it. And tape is the same way. It's like you got a big physical reel, and you thread the thing up, and there's liner notes and all sorts of stuff that comes with these things. It's interesting, and I like listening to music that way. It doesn't mean I want to just not turn on the, you know, fire up Rune and blast some music, but they knew exactly what they were doing, says Gonolith. Well, they did. I think they did. I mean, it seems... why else would you not leave... Why would you not admit it? What's the point of not admitting it? You know, why not show that it's, you know, call it a 1.5 step, or call, you know, whatever it is I got to do, but show, why would you omit that that digital intercept from the chain? And the only reason I can think of is people don't want to, they don't think that people won't pay for it. People aren't willing to pay a premium price for something that's an analog source, or that's not a pure analog source. So why else not admit it? Nephilim comes back with, so everything they're doing for the SACD, they're now doing for vinyl, a 4x DSD capture, which is a good capture. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, it's a very high quality capture. And they're doing it to preserve the tape, and that's true. But I'd also offer, I would say that an analog copy of the tape, if they just made a recording of it, just did an analog copy, the loss on that is minimal. I mean, it's really minimal at the speeds that Pro Tape goes. So, you know, and Daniel Foster comes in with 48 bits is 196 equivalent to 2-inch tape. Well, I don't know that I agree with that either, because you know the digital, you're still clipping information. You know, unless the analog has infinite resolution, in theory, unless you've got a really, you know, and you could have bad tape that's not going to give you that back. But the idea of analog is that there's there's an infinite slices in between the next wave and in between the next bit of sound recorded on the tape. So yeah, there is an advantage, I think, to an at least an analog tape recording process versus recording straight to digital. I do think that digital has gotten so good, though. I mean, there is that part of it. I think it's the deception. I think that really gets to me. It's just the deception of it. And Nephilim says that. Agreed. There is deception, marketing, poor public knowledge of the industry standards of recordings. Yeah, I would agree with that. MOFI should lower their prices by half because a single digital pressing is far less time consuming than tape. I think that they certainly are charging a premium for something that maybe isn't as premium as they say it is. And when you look at, like, look, I'm not going to, take a side or whatever, but you look at the painstaking process that analog productions goes through to make something. You look at, like, their production chain and making the cover and how meticulous they are about all of that stuff, and the paper that they use for the paper stock and stuff like that. Like, it's all, I don't know. It just seems like I don't know. It's a way to to keep your profits up, I guess. I don't know. And I like DSD. Daniel Foss says he likes DSD. I do too. I'm a huge fan of DSD. And I have some 2X. I just bought a couple of 2X albums last night off of HD Tracks. So, yeah, it's good. And I think it's the best digital format right now. But I don't think there's anything better than DSD. And if you can get to a double DSD or a quad DSD or whatever it is, great. It's gonna be fantastic. Nephilim says vinyl heads are mainly pissed because digital has entered the analog domain as a preservation and or capturing. The loss in fidelity is nothing. I think it's minimal. I still think you lose something in that process because you are clipping everything at a number. You know what I mean? Like because you don't have that infinite resolution in between the bits. However, those bits have gotten, especially with the higher end stuff, those bits have gotten so tiny. I mean, I don't know that you're really hearing anything. It's next to nothing. But I think that there's something for, if you like analog and you think you hear something. I also say this, yeah, I think it's perception is reality. If you are somebody who's an analog head, and you swear by records, and all you want are, analog recordings and whatever to play back in your pristine analog turntable and whatever, and you say you hear a difference, then I believe you. I say you hear a difference. It's fine. I don't know that I hear that big a difference anymore. Although I gotta say, those tapes, there's something special about the tapes. They sound different. They sound more open to me. But why do I hear, and then I ask you this, why do I hear such a big difference between versions of, say, Couldn't Stand the Weather, or one of these other UH, like, there is that question, and maybe it's just a bad record that they made, or a lesser record that they made. I don't know. Abraxas is some people paid $1,500. I just bought it new. I bought it when it was new. It was $100, and they're up there. But look at the Beatles mono pressings that they did off the original They lacquered off the masters, and or at least a dub of the master, and $2,000 for a set of Beatle mono records that were released in whatever it was, 2013, 2014. You can't find them, and I didn't buy it. I was like, I don't really like mono. They're saying that's the purest you can get, the closest you can get to the master in the in the Beatles realm is that mono set. I don't like mono. Shame on me. We like what we like. So yeah, I don't know. Nephilim comes back. Michael, tape pass would be 4x that. Remember, master tapes are usually either 16 or 24 track, and they have to mix it down to 2 track, then cut it. Yeah, that's true. Thriller will be DSD. Yeah, they already said that. But they do have a 2-track assembled master. Usually the masters look like... I have a faster, a fake master somewhere down there. And it's like it's an old Beatles record. I don't want to go off camera, but... it's a show killer. Anytime I leave. Of course, maybe it's better because you don't see my face. But I have a master, and you can actually see what they claim is a master. It's not a master. It's a digital. It's some digital bullshit. But it's a tape, and the master, they run leader in between the cuts usually on a master. It's not like they play each record straight through. It's like they assemble track 1 and then they put a little bit of leader on the tape. Usually it's the amount of the break that it's going to be on the LP. Not always. Sometimes they put a little extra tape in there because if they're going to cut a single, they need more leader. But but this is all what goes onto the original master notes, and that's what anybody playing back that tape knows. Oh, pull 2 seconds out in between cuts 1 and 2 because that was a single, or whatever it is. And then they also do any special EQs they did in the mastering process would be there too. So yeah, if you Daniel says he can see if they paid that kind of money for a single pressing and thought the tape was mastered, yeah, that would piss me off. But he doesn't buy records. He hasn't owned a record in 30 years. Well, you're smart. I'm not. Daniel's one of the smart people. Michael's not one of the smart people. Yes, Daniel, you're right. The marketing is deceptive there. Yeah, the packaging says, and nowhere in the packaging does it say AAA or AAD, source back to the master tape. Authenticity is lacking. Yeah, and they do the band on the top of the record to let you know that they couldn't get back to the master, or this is a dub of a dub or whatever the hell it is. It sounded good enough apparently to someone to try and make a record of it. I just didn't agree that it was worth doing because it was so awful. But then I have this Tears for Fears down here. Look, this is the Seeds of Love, and this wasn't sourced back to the master, and this thing sounds good, for what it is. I enjoyed it. Really nice record. But I'm most certainly digitally sourced. I can't see that not being. Class action audiophile lawsuit. Yeah, I think that there's going to be some people that are litigious. I'm definitely not one of them. I'm like, is what it is. Consumers definitely naive to the life of master tape in general. Yes. No chance MOFI would win hands down in court. Well, I think that's up to a judge to decide, or up to a jury to decide. They can make a case. I think the shock is that there's digital involved in this process at all, right? I mean, didn't we kind of think that it was, if you're buying something like this with this kind of packaging, it kind of assume it's kind of a dickish maneuver not to be all analog. It's a little bit dickish. I don't know. And it's such a sin by omission not putting that, on this. This is kind of the smoking gun, right? This is the thing that's the problem. Still, they did some nice packaging on this one step. Gotta admit that. It just doesn't sound very good. This one doesn't. Some of them sound good, but that one didn't. All right, so pushing a 1/4 inch tape at 30 inches per second wears down the dub quickly. Today, Daniel, no. The high-end tape deck, they can take some pounding. On a Studer, something like that, or even mine with the roller bearings and all that, the wear is minimal. It actually will go. The quality of the heads wear before the tape wears. That's the way it's designed now, because the heads are replaceable, the tape isn't. So there's very soft heads out there now, on the professional level, on the professional grade. High resolution vinyl records the Germans are still working on. You have to buy a compatible player. Oh, I don't know. Nephilim says the 4X DSD capture is still authentic because it needed the master tape to begin with. However, they didn't tell people that, so now the marketing people will change to merit the price. MOFI has to do that. I agree. Cheers, boys! Laguna Kid getting us out of this little section, maybe. Anyway, I told you guys I would talk about it. We did talk about it, and I think it's a good discussion. I think that people need to be... I think there's got to be more transparency, period. If you're coming on the director's garage, you better be getting authentic bad jokes and lame-ass graphics through a vintage analog microphone captured digitally. It's all about me, people. Okay. It is, but you know, it's stuff. It's what we're talking about this week. So apparently, and they did issue the apology. So good for them. Daniel says he's sober today. Me too, man. I just got out of the press conference and whatever, and I came straight home, turned everything on except for the microphones, and we started the show. Start of the show is for the hearing impaired. I had no microphone on. Hi guys, sorry for the MOFI jargon. He's still a giant vacuum tube head. Yes, he is. We know that, Nephilim. Cheers. Daniel Foster says he's making some tea now. That's a good thing. MOFI Records says John K. Is it John K? I lost something here. Yeah, John K says if MOFI like records as much as their customers, then they will keep the process a secret. Other than something to do with money, no, it doesn't feel right. Let's see their next moves. Well, I think they've gone a long way to rectify that. The main things, the only thing is that I think that they should allow us to have access to that digital master. I think that they should allow us, if you know, why not? I mean, it's a digital file that's sitting on a server somewhere, and we bought the rights to hear that music, so why not just send us the 4X DSD file? My system here can play back 4X DSD, or if you can't, then offer a 2S DSD. You know, like offer a digital copy of it. I don't know. That seems fair and reasonable. That would be a good way out of this, and it wouldn't cost them much of anything. They just set up a server. JTB says he just got the Hifiman EF400 DAC amp combo, really good. $600, totally endgame for most. Do you think that, JTB, do you think that EF400 would sound good on a Susvara? Now, you know you gotta buy a Susvara, because everybody's saying it can drive the Susvara, JTB, and it might be the endgame amp for the Susvara. You're gonna regret getting rid of that Susvara. You kidding? That's an inside joke that goes back a few weeks. You know, I could lend you my Susvara, JTB. That's funny. Matthew Hilty says, so can you explain the difference between an archival format digital versus consumer PCM digital? It's a difference in resolution, and then and I don't understand, like, when you start breaking down, because there are all sorts of, like, digital is, like, tricky as hell. It's like, there's, like, all sorts of different little sub-grades of digital. And then there's filters you can use that can actually change the digital file. I mean, you get so granular, it doesn't make any sense. But basically, you know, like your normal digital format is 44.1, 16, And then your higher grade format, you might go up to 96 or 88.7, whatever it is. And then, you know, those are your higher end. And then your the max, like, professional level is 192. Well, you can't, almost nothing comes in 192. Almost everything's 96, you know, 96K. 2496, 24-bit 96K. That's usually where the sweet spot is, I think, to me. When you get up to, I don't think the 192 files necessarily sound like drastically audibly better than a 96K, which was that, you know, 192 though is, you know, if you're recording an album in a studio and you're not using an analog process like Jack White, you would use, you know, digital. You'd record it at 192 and then you dither everything down when you go to make your final copy. John K has never heard DSD before. I do think it's good. I think it's the best digital format from my perspective. He's a Deadhead, which I love. Cheers, John K. Huge Deadhead fan. Am I? Talking Grateful Dead. I've told some stories about the Grateful Dead on the show. Some experiences I had that were of a non-psychedelic nature. Not against psychedelic, just never had one with the Dead. Daniel Foster says the Darla digital recording card, when he began recording digital, recorded up to 96-bit. 96K, I think you mean. Daniel Laguna Kid said, it feels like there's a new controversy every other week in the audiophile world. And that's true. I mean, we had some other stuff this crop up earlier this year. And there may be more to come. I mean, if we start finding out that, you know, there were some intercepts there that were taken, some liberties that were taken on the digital front, it might be, you know, might be worth getting riled up about. I don't know. It is, in the end, it's all rock and roll, and we're just having fun with our gear. But it is upsetting to me that, you know, there was something less than 100% truth going on, and that kind of sucks. Why not just tell me the truth? I mean, like, you know, I still like this album, and I'm still looking for the ultimate best version of this, because those Columbia pressings from the mid 60s were shit. They did. The pressings were shit, and I'm looking for a better, you know, a better egg. Building a better bomb. Better, you know, I want the best copy. I would love the best copy. I'd love that. I would love this as one of those reel-to-reel masters, you know, direct one off the master. Hey guys, says Kevin Jacques. He just got back from his local shop and had a first session with the Susvara. Incredible headphone. Yes, it is. I'd have to sell a ton of his gear to get one, but it's tempting. I would tell you, Kevin, to listen to some of the other gear first. Particularly listen to the HE1000, the HE1000 SE, the V2, which is now only $2,000, and the Aria Stealth Magnet Edition before you start getting into Susvara. Susvara, you start boxing yourself in. You got to find an amp that will make it perform, and finding an amp that will make it perform is not always the easiest task in the world, and it definitely is not one of the cheapest tasks in the world. You're going to pay, you can pay as much for the amp as you do for the headphone to drive it. You can get 90% there with an HE1000 V2 and a halfway decent amp. You can save a ton of money. Mr. Number One here, he's a digital guy. Just curious, how wide and how fast do pro tapes spin? They don't spin by revolution per minute like you do an album. An album will spin at 33 and a third RPM or 78 RPM or 45 RPM, and digital spins by inches per second, IPS. So the really shit sounding stuff is 3.5 inches per second. It sounds awful. Don't use it. 7.5 is kind of the standard, like, run-of-the-mill stuff, and all the pre-recorded stuff you buy from direct from studio. Like if you bought this record on reel to reel, it might come at 7.5 inches per second. unless they were really cheap, and then they give you a 3.5 inches per second one. The modern hi-fi standard is 15 inches per second, and that allows you to fit about a side of a record or so on one reel. So if you have 2 sides to a record recording album, you're going to need 2 reels for it, which is a little inconvenient, but it's really good. And then the ultimate professional is 30 inches per second. I have not heard of anybody going over 30 inches per second. I don't know of a deck that can record, and I don't know that you would want to. You start running into a frequency problem when you start spinning tape across the head that fast. You start getting into resonance problems. So there's a reason not to do it. Most tapes are recorded most pro stuff is recorded at 15 inches per second. But acknowledging that some masters live at 30 inches per second. Daniel Foster would love to spend a day in LA trying out the best headphones. And I have them all. No, I don't. I have the one I'm missing is the stacks. I don't have the stacks yet. Like that and the D8000 are the 2 that I don't have. That really would kind of be important if I was trying to listen to all the best headphones. I have almost everything else though. That's on that short list of stuff. John K says pro tapes are, to his knowledge, 30 and 45. I don't know that I've seen a 45 inch per second. The problem is the spool has to get so large to hold that kind of tape. The faster the tape, the quieter, more bandwidth. I know that I've had engineers tell me, and I don't remember what it was, some technical crap about why 30 inches per second is not always the most desirable, but I'll go with that. JTB says Daniel Foster paid $1,500 for a Braxis because there was a nude woman on the cover. Well, she's an attractive woman. Okay. Matthew Hilty. Hey, cheers, Matthew. Hey, guys, we're halfway done. We're about halfway done with our live stream for today. A lot of viewers today. That's kind of cool. I should say, as we do a little halftime little thing going on here, contest closed last Friday. It's going to take me like a week or two to get like the winners, and then I'll do a winners video. The next episode will be about that long. No, it's going to be about wireless IEMs. I'm doing some wireless IEM stuff, and which is the Sennheiser Momentum 3. I go deep into that headphone, and I've got a big surprise in that episode that I didn't necessarily expect. It's really cool. I'm showing something off. I've got something exclusive that I'm showing off in that episode. That's going to be out. If I'm lucky, it'll be out tomorrow. If I'm typical, it'll be out Friday. I don't have it B-rolled. I've got the sound cut, the picture's locked, or the sound is locked. I have to do the picture. That's basically it. But that will be coming up, and I can't wait to do that because that's fun. Yeah, happy. So that's that announcement, and you'll have and I had some people say, why don't you just run a random comment generator and pull something? And I'm like, I don't know, it's just not me. I want to put everybody into a spreadsheet, and I want to draw a number, and I want to give. That's how I do shit. I do stuff. I'm a Luddite in some ways, but that's how it feels good. It also gives me a chance to look and make sure that nobody pulled any shenanigans with their account. So there's that too. So I want to make sure that everything's on the up and up. I look at everybody, and I want to make sure that everybody has a fair chance. Because it's fun. It's good. It's for a good time. I want everybody to, I wish I could do a giveaway every week. I would frickin' love that. The excitement over these things is so great. But that's what I'm going to do is I take everybody, and then one by one I put them into a spreadsheet, and then I draw them, and there's 400 entries. So I got some work to do. Get my shit together. But I'm going to get the next episode out, and then I'm going to get the winners episode out. Will come after that. So it'll be sometime probably early next week, because it's not going to be a terribly involved video to name some winners. And maybe I'll show off something if, maybe I'll open a box or something just to give some little content to that episode. beyond just, hey, these guys won. I don't know. Matthew LT, it blows his mind that MOFI vinyl sounds better than the CD. At least when it comes to his Brothers in Arms album. So the proof is in the pudding, so to speak. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's something to that, I'm guessing, but because I do say that Abraxas is the best I've heard. I don't have the Dire Straits, or maybe I do and I just haven't opened it. I have a communique, I think, is what I have from them. But that's digitally sourced. It's like they took a digital thing. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me, like why you would go, if you're going to go digital, why go digital to produce an analog record? Like the whole point of the analog record is that you're staying analog. I don't know. There's no, like, that's just to own the record then. You're then just paying just to own a physical, the physical vinyl medium. You're not paying for the advantages of vinyl. You're not getting the perceived, at least, advantages of vinyl. Nephilim says, nope. He already said that. I already went over that one. Nephilim 81, Music Appreciation Day. He's doing Massive Attack, Mezzanine. He's just booming on the tube. So much fun. I did some jazz the other day. I was really getting into some jazz. Bill Evans. I was really listening to some of that stuff. Just having a good time. I like wanted some challenge, something to challenge me a little bit. And that jazz stuff is so challenging. Daniel Foster says he loves the sound of vintage ribbon mics. You're looking at one. Loves the Massive Attack. How about the Cocteau Twins? I don't know them. JTB says it won't drive the Susvara. It won't drive the Susvara because you sold the Susvara. If you had a Susvara, had you held on to the Susvara, JTB, you could be driving the Susvara with your EF400 because Hifiman says it will drive the Susvara. Okay. JTB says he's tried the top of the line life in this headphone hobby. Now he's backpedaling to mid-fi. But first of all, even mid-fi is awfully hi-fi. I mean, let's be honest. The Hifiman Aria Stealth Magnet Edition and the HE1000 are brilliant headphones, and they're $2,000 or under, and they're worth every penny. And they put you this far from the top of the game. I just pursue the top of the game because I'm dumb. Yeah. Dana Foster says bit rate more important for sound improvement. You can't handle the truth. I'm getting it from JTB's firing back. Stand back, everybody. I'm going to go find my flak jacket. It was made to record 96-bit 192K. Okay. All right, Daniel. Cheers. Cheers to that. I've never had a Darla card. The most I've ever recorded was 192.48, something like that. I don't know. Daniel Foster says he's been meaning to get to explore the Cocteau Twins. He wants to get the album The Garlands. What we're talking about. John K says, Michael, the first time he saw me play American Beauty was part of my reference music review gear. Now he knew I found a cool dude in the audiophile alley on YouTube. Or a really dumb one. John K, because American Beauty is just where it starts. I've got, oh my God, I got so much Grateful Dead. And then I started getting into the Dix Pick stuff on vinyl. Oh my God, it's so expensive. It's ridiculous. I'm so stupid. Just download the shit. Daniel Foster says 24-bit standard means. American Beauty is part of the reference music choice too. And the thing is, I think it's an 88.6K version. That sounds like it was ripped probably off of an SACD at some point, and it's the best sounding thing. It's one of my very best sounding files. Period. It's amazing. It's like the bass digs so damn deep. It's scary. And it will rattle your molars on the right pair of headphones. If you get it hooked up, it's like, oh, that is beautiful. That is beautiful to hear that bass going that low, and it's got slam down low in the sub. It's just amazing. Daniel Foster says, yeah, Garland's is fantastic. Bluebell Knoll is great. Oh, man. Remember that little problem I had last week with the monitor going out? It just happened again. Curses. Curses. Come on back. There we go. Garland's great. 24-bit standard. I can't type today. Standard. ML Jenkins says, you bring any dope today? ML's like, I took it. He's been in and out all episode. Well, at least there's not 3 of me. Monitor. Pause again. Really got to get this fixed one of these days. Maybe it's the cable. Ideal world. Ha! Mezzanine's great album. Forget Mega Millions jackpot. Give me that Director's Garage contest goodness. Yes, you know it. You know it, folks. You know it. Yeah. And the contest will be coming. Yeah, for sure. Terrapin Station is his favorite Dead recording. I like the stuff from that Europe tour, and I bought a box set of that Europe tour. and it's like 50 concerts or something, and I'll never get through them all. Like even if I just won't. I'm just not going to listen to that much, of the same songs. Sorry, Mrs. Director's asking me about myself because there was a big accident on the 405. She wants to know if I'm safe, and yes is the answer, and on the air is the solution. So who's spamming the chat? Look at the spam in the chat. Somebody's like, really? That's what you got? That's what you got for me? I'm gonna report that. Child abuse. It is child abuse, isn't it? Pornography, sexually explicit. I'm gonna nail their butts because I can do that in the chat. This is amazing. Who does that to my chat? Like, please, people. 24.96, really something. Dick's pics on vinyl, expensive. Yes, and yes. Another video with my reel-to-reel. Yes, that'll be showing up, especially when I go into the Mega Shootout, which is coming 3 or 4 episodes down the road. We're gonna see the Mega Shootout, and that will be definitely that's going to be the source for the Mega Shootout. So for sure. Yeah, 3 of those 72 boxes. I bought a digital, like it was just an online digital thing, like a code or whatever, and it downloaded like so many concerts. Like I couldn't even count them all. It was like 100 nights or so. It was ridiculous. It was so good. And it's all like, I mean, that was them at their prime. It was so good. With all the malfunctions, it's waiting for the direct. Yes, please. JTB says he's waiting for the ceiling to start falling down in the director's garage at some point from all the malfunctions. Yeah, but I'm the biggest malfunction in the director's garage, though. That's the thing. Who's with the love chat? Who would do that on this site? Like, I get it, but put this user in timeout. I love that. I'm going to put that user in timeout. That was my favorite thing. I got to put somebody in timeout. I didn't even know I could do that. That's amazing. Best adult. Well, at least now you guys know where to go after the show. Don't say I don't give you an after party. When you leave the Director's Garage happy hour, you just head over to Love Chat XYZ. It's too much. That's too much. Daniel Foster says he's with Nephilim on that. The head design on that reel is the best. JTB, my date is finally arrived. We are like 3 deep. We are 3 deep in drinks at this point. Aaron said a couple of years he rented a small house behind the much larger house of the Dead's merch designers in Marin County. He walked away with so much stuff with dancing bears on it, given his gifts. I like that. That's really cool. Here's my haul for today. For those of you who weren't around at the top of the show, the first thing you would know is that I forgot to turn the microphone on. Whoops. And then I did a thing at the Lakers training camp today, and they gave me a jersey. Look at that. With my name. How cool is that? Swag, baby. Gotta love that. How many miles did I put on my bike this week? I did 4 workouts, 4 40-minute workouts, 4 16 miles per. So do the math. 16 times 4. I'm too tired. Amazing, Michael. You really look forward to that. Reel to Reel has been the most authentic medium there is. It is. It's sounds so good. And he has all the Dead's shows in FLAC. John K does. I don't have all of them. I have a bunch of them. I mean, how many more are you going to do? So here's the thing, guys. It's 4:43. I have also prepared a review of something. Where was that headphone that I reviewed? Was it this one? The clips? No, the clips is what we're giving away. It was that Crinacle thing from last week that I opened live. And I can do that review. It's probably going to be about 10 minutes or so, but I wrote up a thing and I just got sidelined because I wanted to talk. I think the mobile fidelity thing is, I'm a little passionate about it because I have so many damn mobile fidelity records. So yeah, I'm a little sensitive. I'm going to pay a little attention to that. But I can do that review for you guys if you're interested in it. And what I'm talking about is the 7Hz Dioko from Crin. And I opened those on the last show, and I put them down somewhere. I don't even have them like in front of me, but I don't think you need them. I mean, I can show you that on the webcams. So I can do that if you're interested in it. The purple spaceship, yes. I can do that if you're interested in it, or I can just call it off if you don't care. If you don't care about it, just tell me in the chat. I'm going to look for the Dioko real quick in the event that I do it. 2 seconds. Stand by. There it is. It wasn't that difficult. It turns out that I had the Dioko close. If you want that review, I'll do them now. And if you don't, just chime in the chat real quick. Somebody real quick do that, and I'll talk about them. And if you don't, that's cool. I don't care. You don't have to. I got to do a little thing on the camera though. If we do this, okay. Do you care? Do you not care? Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. Give me your bottom line on them. I can't do about it. I just got to tell you what I think because I did roll through these and spend some time with them. I just don't want to. The truth of it is I don't want to do a full episode on these, and I just don't want to do a full episode on them. So it's like I thought I could maybe do it in the live show. And so yeah, I just did a little thing on them. So I'll, if I can get all this backing up and doing the thing, I'll tell you my thoughts on this. So let's talk about it. This is the 7Hz Crinacle Dioko, folks. It's the collab between 7Hz and Crin that has been the subject of much debate, mostly because of the planar dynamic. This thing shipped with the wrong filters. Or at least a different filter. Because when they sent me the alternate filters, I don't know how they can call that the right filter. I never even bothered to listen to the Dioko with the wrong filters installed, but apparently 150 units of these shipped with the wrong filter. And you know what I'm talking about? The filter, it's this guy right here, in the end of the tip that I just pulled out. I'm so bad at this. Like, you shouldn't trust a user to put one of these screens in. That's stupid. But at any rate, it's this at the end, right, that we're talking about. See, can you see? Like, it's a little silver thing. Anyway. They shipped with the wrong filter there, and so they said that it had the wrong tuning. And so I got an email, and then they sent me the replacement thing, and yeah, I don't like doing surgery on headphones, especially tiny IEMs with these fat fingers. So that's a fail in itself. But, you know, I have done some circuit board, you know, soldering and stuff like this. But then when I pulled out the filters to replace them, they looked exactly like the ones that I replaced them with. Like, there was no, like, visual... You couldn't really tell, like, oh, it's obvious that this one's purple and that one's green, or whatever it was, or this one's thick and that one's thin. Everything looked identical, but I found the whole exercise to be tedious and completely annoying on my part. I was annoyed. I'm not going to do, like, all the categories, but I'm going to tell this relatively straight. There's literally no point. There are some high points with the Dioko. First is the packaging. This is among the best cases I've ever seen, let alone at $100. I mean, yeah, it's a little plasticky on the zipper or whatever, but look at this. Is hard shell inside of a leather exterior. So you get leather, stitched leather exterior, and it's stitched, it's not like stamped, and then you get a hard shell inside. So it's like, really, that I can say is quite impressive. Okay. The cable is functional but not remarkable. It's okay. It's not going to win any awards, but it's kind of in line with. And then you've got the looks of this thing, which is sort of like most of 7Hz other offerings. It's kind of cool but really odd at the same time. But it's another IEM that I had problems from 7Hz getting to the right depth in the ear canal. So I had to go with Dioko bullets to make them fit right and get a good seal. And that's been across the board on all of 7Hz IEMs. For some reason, a standard, 10 Mac Turbo that are in the notes below won't work. I got to go to Dioko bullets. So that the fit didn't change much from the Timeless and the Eternal. When I tried these, I started with AC/DC Hell's Bells. That was my first thing, and I was immediately impressed by the clarity. I thought the bell ring, it had a nice vibrancy and top end to it. And I thought, oh, well, maybe there's something here. And then the ride cymbals came in, because like it starts with gong and then it's riding the cymbals, and it was like there was nothing standing between me and the drummer, and I started getting kind of excited about the sound, and that was as far as the excitement went. It was like after I got through the initial treble response, I was kind of done. And the reason that I was so close to that ride cymbal is that the treble, and I'm talking about like 8K and up, is ridiculously crushed. I mean, it's way overemphasized. Someone must have thought they were gaining new clarity out of a planar dynamic or something, but no, they were just crushing the treble. And it's interesting that it doesn't emphasize the grading frequencies to me at all. It actually sidesteps that 6K range that I find so freaking annoying on most headphones, and when they spike at 6K, it drives me crazy. It's that grading part of the upper mids and lower treble area. I could push these with volume, and they never really got annoying. But the problem is there's so much treble in these things that nothing sounds natural. It's like the cymbals become a separate component of the music. Back in Black, after the ride cymbals established with unreal, and I mean unreal, lacking reality, authority, the next element that came in was the bass. At least I thought it was bass. There really wasn't enough presence to tell me that it was bass. So getting more towards a bottom line, this is the first Crinacle tuning that I feel really misses the mark. And there is so much goodness out there at the $100 level right now. Like, these are just $100. It is so competitive, and that field is so tight. From the Thieaudio Legacy 2 to the Moondrop Aria, there is no conceivable reason I can give you to consider these, other than maybe you get the speed of a planar magnetic, but you don't get any of the benefit of the sound of a planar. Like, if you're gonna buy these, how can I not tell you just to instead of spending $100 on this thing, spend $200 and get the timeless, because you're going to have a different experience, right? The soundstage was about the only technical area where I thought that, well, these are kind of wider than the timeless. Like, I thought that was good. But the Dioko lacks in dynamics, bass, it presents average imaging, and these things sound completely unnatural. Like, I hate bagging a product. You know, I don't like talking bad about a product, and I avoid doing it whenever I can. You know, like, I'll find something that's good, and I can say, you know, they're a little quirky looking or whatever, but you know, there's something appealing about these. They have a good sound stage, but there's a poor tuning is a poor tuning, and these are poor tuned. These are poorly tuned. Normally I talk about like diminishing returns as the price increases, and this is a headphone that bucks that trend. Adding $100 to the price of this will yield greater than a $100 boost in sound quality. If you spend the $200, you are going to get a greater than 2x sound jump by going to the timeless. You actually get more value by spending more in the case of the Dioko. And I don't think anybody sets out to make a headphone like this. That's bad. There's too much money, too much effort, too much time goes into making these things. Crinacle cares about about stuff that he does. He doesn't want his IEMs to sound bad.
Sorry, could you say that again? My apologies. I couldn't hear what you said.
All right, well, Siri, I wasn't talking to you, so shut up. Curses. And there is obvious effort here. Like, you know, you look at these things and there's these things, somebody spent some time on these. They tried. All I can think of is that somewhere in the tuning process, as they were tuning these in and honing in on what the sound was going to be, something went wrong. Some rejected tuning somehow got approved, and this treble monster somehow got green lit. And then somewhere in that breakdown in QC, they realized that they needed to do something to control this rebellious treble. And then they sent out new filters. I honestly think that that's probably what happened, rather than the wrong filter was in from the start. I think something got messed up in the tuning, and this new filter was an attempt to cover for that. So in the end, I hate to say it, but this is not a recommend for anybody. And these will go into a giveaway with all the other filters they sent me someday. And y'all can have at it, because I don't want anything to do with these. It was not a fun time. It was not a fun time. So there you go. That's my take on the 7Hz Crinacle Dioko, and yeah, it's I've heard better. My one-word answer. These must have come out of the package. I don't know. All right. So there you go. So we did the review, and Daniel Foster says he's thinking about an Aria V2 on eBay right now for a good price. Yeah, I could see that. He'd rather me do reviews on earmuffs than IEMs. Well, there's 30 of you watching right now, so somebody watched it. Did I listen to the faulty release before mixing? I said at the top of that review, no, I did not. I didn't bother. There's no point. I have the old screens. Not that I need them. If you run them through a dishwasher a few hundred times, they sound like the HD 800s. Oh, guys, don't be cruel. They had to try. Nobody sets out to do something like this. I will say this is a major disappointment for me. And I'm glad that I only spent $100 on them, because I would have been really disappointed if I'd spent like $300 on them and they sounded like that. Daniel Foster says safer than putting them in a microwave. Nephilim says leave my HD800s alone. I know I like the HD. I'm a fan of the Senis in general. I'm in the minority for their over ears. It says it's personal, but he has a feeling I can't go wrong with either of the Shure S12. I haven't listened to it. 7Hz Timeless, Rap Go Hook, and the Dioko. Well, the Dioko I just reviewed, not so good for me anyway. And I appreciate people hear differently and thinks differently. It's just not from. I did not. This is a trouble monster, and no thank you. JTB says if I run the HD800s through the if I run the HD800s through the dishwasher a few times, they sound like the Abyss 12 Phi 126060C. Now that's unfair, JTB. I think that the Abyss on the Ferrum stack is exceptional. It's like one of the best I've heard. 6K is terrible when pushed. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. It's like it's great time. It's just going to grate me. And I have a little bit of tinnitus, and it's just like that frequency is like fingernails on a chalkboard. Ouch. Crinacle is taking a beating from most reviewers. No, I will tell you this. The Crin Dusk, Crinacle 2 Dusk, one of the best IEMs at 350. Fantastic. I've liked several of his things. I thought were good. I thought that the FiO Eclipse was okay. It was decent. It was maybe a little bright, but it wasn't that bad. But the Blessing 2 Dusk is amazing. I thought he did excellent work on that. That was one of my favorite headphones. It's one of my favorite headphones period for IEMs. If you're into IEMs, unlike JTB, if you can't plug it into something massive, he doesn't care. All right, Adam Cardos. The 7Hz Timeless are so good. Yeah, they're great. And with the Cayin, yeah, there's so much you can do with them with a decent amp. With a decent amp. With a fairly decent amp, you can go a long way with those. The good news is there'll be a prize in the new box of Cracker Jacks. Oh, that's cool, man. Daniel Foster says he wouldn't mind clobbering Crinacle with a rubber chicken. How? Hey, let's not get violent towards Crin, man. He's funny. I like his show. ML Jenkins, so much damning praise. They tried. They did try. The Cayin RU6. I still want the Cayin N8 V2, but nobody's bought my Cayin N8 V1 yet. I would like that. Like that to go away someday. Daniel Foster says he will probably buy a pair of the Timeless. At $200, there's no reason not to. I mean, I know that's a lot of money. I scoff, a lot of people go, hey, $200 is serious stuff. But in this hobby, that's nothing. I mean, that's so nothing in this hobby. It's hard to give you an excuse not to buy those. Stay tuned for the next episode, though. I got some really cool stuff in the next episode. That'll be out on Thursday or Friday. If it's Thursday, that means I got a lot of work to do tonight. And I really got to work out. I owe myself a workout tonight, so maybe I'm going to get the workout in, and then the rest of it we'll air the new episode on Friday. I don't know much better stuff. The Timeless is still great with the dongle. Still say the price is justified. Yeah, $200 for the Timeless is great. John K says we're going to finish up here. We're getting down to the last comments for a Wednesday happy hour hangout here at the Director's Garage. Tip your waiters and waitresses. They've worked hard all week too. I'll make this shit up. John K says he has an S12. I know I gotta try some of these and other new like entry level or lower level IEMs. I'm behind on those, but I can't have everything. It's like how many of these things do I really need? And I buy them all. That's the problem. JTB says he will not Critical off his high horse. Crin's a good guy, man. He's funny. I like his show. Okay. Mr. Number One here. Got it. He was looking to the Dioko. Now he's skipping it. Yeah, don't. I would advise against that. I think it's just an experiment. Something went wrong somewhere, and I'm sorry about that, but it wasn't great. Aaron Seek says, it's so great for a cymbal quartet ensembles. Very niche. Bad. Greetings, Charles W. We're all nuts in here. Well, welcome, Charles W. Hey, cheers to Charles W. What are you drinking, Charles? What's going on with you, buddy? Welcome to the Happy Hour Hangout on Humpday here at the Director's Garage. It's the 4-H Club. We do this every week. Try to do it every Wednesday. Sometimes it gets pushed around a little because of scheduling, but today I tried to do it audio free. I tried to give you a little diet episode up front. I had no microphone on for the first minute until somebody pointed out, dude. Oh well, what are you gonna do? Run, bro. Yeah. Get out of here. You don't know what you're getting into. Matthew said he had his doubts about the Dioko. Why would the same company make something better than their higher tier offerings for less money? Makes no sense. Well, there you go. This wasn't even half the value of their, and then they're charging half the price. Yeah, it was not a great experience for me. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I want to like everything. I want to like everything. I always go into a thing like excited to hear it, and then you start listening to it. It's like, oh, that was rough. ML Jenkins says his wallet cannot support getting this close to the third rail. You know, this whole show is the third rail. Ace of Spades says, howdy Ace of Spades. Good to hear from you again. He wants a $500 timeless on steroids. Time full. We'll give him a time full. He wants 7Hz time full. John K says MMCX connectors keep him away from the timeless for now. I did break down and I bought a premium cable for the timeless. There's some really good cables on Linsole. Affiliate link below. So shameless, but it's true. You can help support the channel just by clicking on that. I bought this 8-weave. It's an 8 down to 4 weave. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, it's a thing of beauty. Thing of beauty. With a Pentacon at the end. How good is that? And then that goes to the 7Hz. I bought this. It was like $100-ish. Very cost effective. Very nice cable. And it's like silver plated something. Daniel Foster. Oh, Matthew Hilty says, try the Z12. I should try the B12. Vitamin B12. Get rid of that rash. Daniel Foster says, purchased a Blue Ella planar headset. Blue Ella. Is that from Blue, like the microphone maker? He likes them better than the Sundara. Okay. Yeah, maybe. Late cheers, Ryan Dietz. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, cheers. Quartet ensembles, hilarious. He's a drummer. That from John K. Well, everybody, it's about 5:06. We've been doing this for a little over an hour and a half. I should probably start wrapping things up. And I am so glad you guys could join me today for the Director's Garage. What can I tell you? We have deals. I do this once an episode. I'm going to do it at the end of the episode for a change. If you go to the Director's Garage through the affiliate link below, and at checkout you enter the coupon code Director's Garage, all one word, you will get an extra 5% off most of the items they carry. It is our little deal with Audio46.com. They are terrific. And they ship fast and free. If you do that, though, yeah, that's like we'll get like, I don't know, like 4% of the sale or something for the register. If you'll notice, I'm not brimming over with Patreon, and I don't have memberships here. Someday I might, but I don't yet. So that's the only way that this show kind of is sustaining itself. Matthew Hilty, thanks for the $5. That's the other way. I appreciate that. But yeah, if you go, I do it this way because you get a product for your purchase. Like, you're not just giving me money, you're getting something for your money. And then a little bit of that you don't even see just goes to me. And it's like it's a way to pay it forward. And then you get something at a discount, which is even better. I'd rather give you something you want at a discount than just, say, hey, please send money. Our children need help. I don't have kids. All right, guys. That's it. We're going to wrap this Director's Garage Hang On. We're going to go to some outro music over on the old jukebox. That's the outro music. And I want to thank you guys for stopping by. Look for a new episode in the next couple of days. Probably early next week will be the reveal of all the winners from the giveaway. Those giveaways now closed for the Thieaudio Jimmy. That's our main thing. And then we got a couple other things that we're giving away in that one. And gosh, thank you guys for stopping by. And I will see you again next week. And I'll see all of you before you know it. Good night, everybody. Where's that? Where's all the things? Let's go to the things now. It's always a hysterical thing to get off the air.